We are back. It's another day and we got another fix for the car. Down here, our ECT sensor is broken. So that's your engine coolant temperature sensor right there. So it's broken, and that's going to cause your car to not run very good, essentially. The ECT and the ACT, which is over here, if you guys don't know. Where is it at? There it is, right there. You can't see it, but anyway, it's right there. Those two sensors, from what I understand, kind of work together. Now, you guys are more than welcome to get down in the comment section, explain how they work exactly if you like. But for the purpose of this video, you just need to know if these sensors go bad, your car will not run right when it's cold. So if you're having an issue with your car not running good when you first start it up, but once it runs for a little while, maybe it runs a little better after a minute or so, then look into your ECT and ACT sensors. They're bad about going out, and a lot of times you won't know it. We're going to go ahead and replace that sensor today, and we're also going to do some budget stuff. So we're going to change these spark plug wires out with some better ones that I have from my other car. Now eventually we're going to put new spark plug wires on the car, but for right now we're going to use some old wires that we had. Now why would you do that? Well, honestly, because I have them and I save everything. You can look around this nasty garage and tell that I save pretty much everything. So with that being said, I run across really a good set of wires. There's only one boot that's messed up on this. Now what we can do is fix that boot. We can take that boot completely off and put a new one on, and honestly, we might not even have to buy plug wires. Hey, let's be real, plug wires aren't cheap. This wire right here has a couple nicks in it. So, number 4 wire, if we have any extra, we can cut that off. See how close it is to the end of the wire? So I'll tell you what, why don't we go ahead, put this number 4 plug wire on the car and see how much extra we have, and if we can get away with it, we'll just go ahead and cut that bad spot out, and I'll show you guys how to repair that. So let's see what we can do. I'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, so as you can see, this is one of the old wires right here. So what we're going to do is just pull this boot off, and we're going to reuse it on our Ford racing wire right here. We're going to go ahead, snatch this boot off, and this should work out just fine. Just like that. Let me show you guys how this spark plug wire works. So this is your lead that attaches to your spark plug right here, and inside is the core. So right inside of here there's a black core, and that actually wraps around and makes contact with this. So let me go ahead and get this off, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. All you have to do to get these off is just put a screwdriver in here and just kind of twist, spread it out ever so slightly, and you should be able to get it to pull out. Okay. So this is your core here. This is which it broke off. But this right here is what basically comes around and loops around to the outside, and it just makes contact with this metal piece here. I'm going to take these and cut about that much off, and we're going to try that first. Pull, and see, there's our core. Just that quick. So now what you want to do is just lay this core back and slide the metal piece on. Make sure that you put the metal piece to the back side of the cut. Once you have that, you just want to crimp everything back, just like that. Now we need to go put our new boot on. So what I recommend is a little WD-40 or something like that inside the boot so that this will slide in. Now you do need to match this up. So this is going to need to have a little more bend to it, something about like that, and that should be pretty good. Let's go ahead and get this pushed in. Alright guys, that's it. We are repaired. So it's pretty easy. Just remember that a lot of people build their own custom wires anyway, and you can buy them from the auto parts store, for Jag, Summit, pretty much anywhere. Don't throw your spark plug wires away. I mean, you can always fix them. So like I said, this is just some budget stuff, just spreading some budget knowledge here. Alright, so that was really the only bad wire in the bunch that I know of. If there's any others, then you can do them the same way. I just want to remind you guys, save all your parts. I'm not telling you to be a hoarder, to be a pack rat, or anything like that, but save like spark plugs and spark plug wires, because you never know when you might need them. We have everything cleaned up. We've got these spark plugs cleaned up. They look pretty good. I had to replace one. One had the long shank. I'll show you guys. One of the spark plugs was long like this, and that's not supposed to be the case. They're supposed to be short. These are for like your GT40 heads and some aftermarket heads, so don't run these in your stock E7 headed Foxbody. Also, I want to show you guys a quick tip. So if you're kind of in a hard to reach area, get yourself a piece of vacuum line or something that'll slide over the end of your spark plug here. Now, as you can see, this is not really the right thing, but I don't have any vacuum line to fit. But what this will allow you to do is get that spark plug up in there in a hard to reach area and turn it. You'd be amazed just how quick that thing starts. Look at that. So anyway, that should help some of you. Some of these spark plug holes are kind of hard to get to, and if you put too much pressure on the spark plug while you're trying to spin it, you'll just never get it to go in. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of finesse, and that's what that allows you to do. So a vacuum line works best, but whatever you've got to work, that's fine. Also, I want to talk about spark plug gap. Now, this is all a matter of opinion, but I've been around the block at least a time or two, and with a boosted car, you know, it all really depends, but you're somewhere around in the 20s with a boosted car typically. I think on the Cobra we're at 19 on it, but with something like a stock Foxbody with a stock firing system, you know, stock coil and stock distributor and whatnot, I like to go 45 on mine. These firing systems just don't have a lot of power, so they really can't bridge that gap. So me personally, I like 45, so that's 0.45 on a spark plug gap on basically a stock engine. You know, if you've got an aftermarket MSD ignition with a really good coil, I mean, you can probably go 50, 55, no problem. All right, let's go ahead and get these things tightened up. Now, I know some of this stuff is very basic for a lot of you more advanced guys, but you got to remember, we do have people watching the videos that have never worked on one of these cars before. This is your firing order right here for a 302 HO motor. So this is obviously a 302 HO, which is the same as a 351 Windsor. So remember that. Don't get confused. I know this has caused a lot of you some heartache at some point. So when you're looking up the firing order for this, yes, it is the same as a Windsor. Anyway, let's go ahead, get these plug wires installed, and see what she runs like. This is what I always pull up. Every time I work on my car, I don't care if I think I know the firing order or not, I always pull this up, and it goes right there. Sometimes I can recite this to you, and sometimes I can't. Sometimes I gotta look it up. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm also going to go ahead and change our ECT sensor, so let me go ahead and do that now. And there we go, there's our broken sensor. Alright, here's our new sensor. Let's go ahead and get it in. That wire may need to be replaced. I see that it's frayed, so. Alright, let's go ahead and bust this thing off, see if it works. Give it a second to idle down. I really need to check that sensor and make sure that the plug's good, because the car has some heat in it. It shouldn't high idle. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to check into that and see. I don't know if that plug's making a good connection or not. As you can hear, she's running a lot better. So it still has like a little bit of a mist to it, but you know what? I have found out with most of these cars, they don't run perfectly smooth anymore. Once you start removing smog and you start taking all this stuff off and you do any modifications at all, it's like they never idle completely smooth. Like they don't just purr, I guess you could say. But either way, I mean, it runs fine, and we still need to replace the oxygen sensor. So hopefully next week sometime, we'll have the oxygen sensors in the car and we'll get this thing running really good. All right, so I'm gonna leave you with this. Just remember, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to get your car running. So don't think that you always gotta go out and spend big money, buy all new parts and stuff like that, when sometimes you just need to fix what you've got. You know, let's say you had a set of those motorsport wires and you were just hell-bent and determined to go out and buy another set. Maybe that's what you thought you needed to do. I'm just trying to save you guys a few bucks here, there, wherever I can. You know, on the internet, pretty much everybody tells you, buy new stuff, buy new stuff. Oh, don't be a cheap ass, spend the money. Well, some of you don't have the money to spend, and I understand that. So where can we cut corners, what can we get away with and not harm the car and it still run really good. So that's kind of the goal of this channel. Now, of course, we spend money sometimes. I come from the Foxbody world when I didn't have any money and I was having to make stuff work. I need you to know, just because you don't have a lot of extra money doesn't mean that you can't do things right. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. And as always, thanks for watching.